welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about something I get a lot of compliments on, and that is my Instagram/travel photos. Now I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram, but I do tend to take really nice photos apparently, because I have had some training in photography and photojournalism and such, as well as videography and video journalism. So I thought I would share some tips with you guys on how to take better travel photos and Instagram photos, since I get so many questions about how I do my photos. Everyone gets their inspiration from different places. I particularly get mine from Instagram and We Heart It. Find some photos that you like, that you would like to recreate, and just screenshot the ones you like, save the photo, and create a mood board if you have to. I tend not to do that. I tend to just kind of keep it in my head. But if you're more of a visual person and you need the visual help, then have a mood board with you and photos to actually mimic. I'm gonna let you guys in on a really big secret. I take almost all of my own Instagram photos. Even the photos where I'm off in the distance, I've actually taken that photo. I try not to ask other people to take my photos because A, I'm really awkward when I can feel that someone else is watching me take a photo, and B, I get really particular about how I want my photos to turn out, and therefore having a tripod and a remote allows me the freedom to do that. I use my Canon G7X camera with the remote app on my iPhone, and that also gives me a mobile viewfinder on my phone of what the photo actually will look like. And also I use a GorillaPod in this case so that I can actually get my camera mounted on virtually anything that the GorillaPod can cling to or stand up on. The second way that I do this is I use my GoPro. My GoPro monopod, selfie stick type of thing has a built-in tripod extension inside of the monopod. So I can screw that, create the tripod, and then the GoPro app also comes with a remote viewfinder type of deal where I can take the photo while seeing exactly what is in the frame. If you don't have either of those things, then a tripod and timer will work just as well. It may take you a few more tries, and you may have to strategically think about where you're going to be standing in the frame if you're taking a photo of yourself, but it'll work out in the end and it'll be totally worth it. If you're trying to get that super Tumblr-y creative photo and you're actually in the photo, one tip I have for you is to not look at the camera. I know that's kind of a weird tip, considering that in most photos people ask you to look at the camera and smile. However, we're gonna ask you not to do that if you want the super Tumblr-y vibe, that is. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice that a lot of the photos that I take in my hiking photos and travel photos are photos of me not actually facing the camera or looking at the camera. A lot of them will tend to be the back of my head actually, and it's a lot more friendly for other people to look at and insert themselves into the photo, and I think that's kind of part of what makes those types of photos really super popular. At least that's my theory anyways, is that people see the photo, and because they can't see your face, or because you're not even looking at the photo, you're not looking at them, they tend to feel a little more of a disconnect. A lot of people like these photos because they can imagine themselves in the exact same spot and insert themselves into that spot and be like, I could be there too, as opposed to feeling like you're creeping on somebody's family trip photos. Does that make sense? If you're having trouble figuring out why your flat lay is looking really weird, or if things just aren't looking right, think in threes. This especially works for the rule of thirds. Rule of thirds applies when you create a grid on the image you're creating and you split that grid into threes, and whatever you have is the subject is taking up 1/3 of the photo space. I found that this also works if you're creating a flat lay. Odd numbers tend to work a little better in photos. This doesn't always work, but I found that more often than not, having an odd number of things in the photo works out best. I don't know if you know this, but most photographers tend to take a million different options of a photo in order to get one shot. If you're not well versed in photography, then the more options you have of one particular shot, the better. Take it from the top, take it from the side, take it from the right side, take it from the left side. Zoom in a little and take it. Zoom out all the way and take it. The more options you have, the more you have to work with, and therefore in the future you know and learn what angle works best for you and what angles look the best. Also, sometimes your first image isn't always in focus all the way, so if you have a few different options, then that means there are a few more chances for you to get a photo that's actually in focus. If you want a super cute background for your Instagram photos and your flat lays, I would suggest going to Home Depot or the craft store or any other store where you can get something like a board or a tile or some wood, that stuff. Like, go out and get some of those, because you can create your own backgrounds and not necessarily have to work with the tabletop counters that you have in your home. I've taken a few photos on Instagram where I have a white background as my flat lay, and I don't actually own any white tables. Surprise, surprise. All my tables are actually glass. My desk right here is glass. My dining room table is glass. And then my coffee table is black actually, so I don't have any white surfaces, but I have a foam whiteboard that I got from the craft store that I use if I want to take photos. I also have a couple tiles that I picked up from Home Depot that are kind of like a marbly texture or stone texture, and I love using those as well. Those are super fun, and I get the option of having these pretty backgrounds without necessarily needing to go buy a whole table. A lot of bloggers and Instagrammers and YouTubers use this method, so if you haven't thought of that already, then that's a thing that actually happens. You could also go to the craft store and buy a slab of wood or a general board, craft board, and paint it whatever color you want if you want a super colorful background. The last tip I have for your Instagram and travel photos is to add a human element whenever possible. People like to see other people, regardless of if they want to see their face. People like seeing other people. It's interesting. Nobody wants to look at nothing. As I mentioned earlier, you can always be in the photo. You can be looking at the camera, you can be looking away from the camera, or you can be the back of your head if you don't like taking pictures of your face. I do a lot of that. Sometimes I don't like taking pictures of my face. But the human element is something that everyone loves to see. If your entire travel album or Instagram feed is stuff where there's no person in it, no one at all, then it looks kind of strange. Even if you're taking a flat lay of, say, a coffee you're having with friends, have somebody hold on to their coffee so that you can see that there's actually someone drinking that coffee and it's not just a coffee that happens to be there. Make it look like you're interacting with the coffee. People like to see human element even if it's just a hand or a foot. And those are all the tips I have for taking better Instagram and travel photos. If you like this video or have any extra tips, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Also, let me know what you'd like to see next. If you would like to see a video about how I edit my Instagram photos and travel photos next, that could be a thing. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys don't already follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, then my username is @MoExplorers on each and every one of those. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!